There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. A quote from William Shakespeare that was also used as a tagline for Final Fantasy XV, back when it was still Versus 13. If you ask me, it's a fitting quote for the upcoming title that exemplifies its development process perfectly, primarily the period where it switched from Final Fantasy Versus 13 to 15. Hey, I'm AJ, and today we're gonna have a quick chat about the highly anticipated title, well, at least for me, Final Fantasy XV. Ever since the transition from Final Fantasy Versus 13 to 15, there's always been this bit of a divide amongst its fans. There'd be those who think the title strayed a bit too far away from what drawed them into the game in the first place, and there'd be those who think the title's better off now in the hands of Hajime Tabata rather than Tetsuya Nomura. Cause, it takes that man like 18 years to make a game. There'd be arguments from both sides coming down mostly to Hajime Tabata making the game's story more simple and changing out characters and plot elements, and tossing out the overall darker atmosphere and or tone of the game. I for one was one of those people a few years back blindsided by the changes made. Don't get me wrong, I was hype as fuck about the reveal like many others were, but the game was different enough to make me be a little bit worried or wonder about the former title Versus 13. The anger, worry, and overall hesitance of Versus 13 fans towards the revamped title are not without reason. At the point of the re-reveal, they've waited 6 years more or less for the title, just to see that the game that they've been waiting for is never coming. And with Tetsuya Nomura stepping down as director and Hajime Tabata stepping up, Final Fantasy XV wasn't subtle about changing the game to fit Tabata's vision. To be fair, Tabata has stated many times before that changes were necessary to make the game move forward in development, due to a lot of Nomura/Versus 13's ideas not meshing well or being coherent with the rest of the game, and cared about keeping core features and ideas that Nomura had in mind during his time as director, such as the theme of brotherhood. Even with that said and done, 15 felt like too much of a hard breakaway from the game that enchanted so many years prior. Versus 13 was in development with being a dark take on Final Fantasy in mind. Nomura could do this cause at the time it was still just a side game in the franchise, and wouldn't change how people viewed the series since it wasn't a mainline title. Dark realism was a goal for Nomura, and fan response seemed extremely positive with what was shown thus far. To be clear, I have got no personal gripe with how Final Fantasy XV turned out. It looks like a fantastic game, and I'm not saying Versus 13 would be a better game if Square Enix sticked with that title. But since what got most people excited and eager for 15 was the game Nomura showed all those years ago, was it really wise to rewrite and change things this much instead of creating new ideas to fit into the old design? I couldn't tell you. The two directors Tabata and Nomura are developers deserving of praise, both having their own accolades within Square Enix's history, and both would make Final Fantasy a great game despite whoever stayed in charge in my opinion. It's just that after 15 was re-revealed, I couldn't help but wonder if Nomura stayed in charge, would 15 be a better? Worse? Well, we'll never know, but it's interesting to ponder. In that case, I'll leave it up to you guys. Do you guys think that Final Fantasy 15 would have been better in Tabata's hands or Nomura's hands, I just always had the thought of if Final Fantasy XV would be as good as it could have been. So make sure you guys tell me who you'd prefer to lead Final Fantasy XV if it was an option up to you. But on that, I'll end it here. Thanks you guys for watching. If you digged it, like it, and if you want to see more of my ugly mug, make sure you subscribe. Other than that, I have nothing else to say, so I'll catch you on the flip side. Stay golden. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you look right above me, you can see 2 of my previous videos. So, if you feel like supporting your boy, feel free to check them out. It's okay, take your time. I'll just be right here when you're ready to watch them.